Okay, well, apparently I messed up the actual recording again this week. This time it was because the mic was turned off, which I didn't know my microphone system could actually be turned off. So that's good to know. So wasn't muted, just had it turned off. So this is a voiceover. This is the second one I've recorded today because I also went live when I did my hive. So here we go. We're going to take a look into Rachel's hive, which has been the strong hive. And I never realized that you could very clearly see the house there. You might be able to see Ahsoka. She might pop her head up and take a peek at us. So it is just me in the inspections. Isaac's out there with me, and I made a couple of jokes with him, but I can't remember what they were now. We are doing this early in the day, so it's actually probably before 9 o'clock when I was doing this inspection because it's supposed to get to 105 today on July 11th of this year. It's gonna be stupid hot. So what we're going to check was we don't really care too much. Well, we care. We don't need to do too much in this top box. This is just honey. And realistically, Rachel's hive here is doing very, very well. Um, we did bring out the bathroom scale to try to weigh how much a single frame weighs. And so we'll do that here in a minute. But the downside is the scale wants to pick up like people, not tiny frames. So we weren't able to get a weight off of hers. So I did get a weight off of a potential weight off of a frame from my hive. It was a deep frame, so it weighed a little bit more. So let's take a look at what we have here. We just have, wow, I did that really fast. Well, you can go back and you can pause it. It's just the outside frame. They're just going to start building comb on there. It looks like the inside, that first side that we saw, had a little bit of comb starting to be built. So that's good. That's exactly what they should be doing. Um, Again, they probably won't do too much on the outside walls, but the inside will get nice and full. We can actually see there, see how it kind of looks like a solid white, yeah, solid white on what sheet. That's honey that's already been capped over. So that frame already has honey in it. And I think about half of these did. So this one that I'm pulling here, oh yeah, yeah, that's got a lot of good honey on it. That is what I would imagine is a perfect frame for honey. And shaking bees off is difficult to do. So yeah, there we go. Good honey. Wow, I went way too slow. You'll have to go back and pause it. So we're trying to get a weight on here. Now these frames are maybe 5 or 6 inches. I could look up the exact size, but they're 5 or 6 inches tall. And I couldn't get a weight off of them. But the deep frames, which I think are like 8 to 9 inches, they weighed in at, we think, 5 kilograms. And I don't know why my scale was in kilo mode, but it was. But that equates to about 11 pounds on one deep frame. These ones being a little bit smaller, so I'm going to guess 3 to 4 kilos in weight, which still should be like 7 pounds of honey. And Rachel's got like 4 or 5 of them right now, which is really cool. So Rachel's hive, this first box is just being prepared for honey stores for winter. Hopefully in about 2 weeks, we can, maybe even less than that, we can put on another box of the same size and they will do the same thing. They'll fill it up. And if they do, and actually, if they don't, we get to take everything that they do with that top box and we get to collect it for ourselves. Now, if they don't fill it up, I think what we do is we actually wrap it up in saran wrap, keep it sealed for the winter, and then we give it back to them in the spring. Um, we can't collect it if it's not honey. If it's just nectar, it doesn't help us at all. So any extra honey we will definitely be keeping for ourselves, and the rest we'll just wrap it up and give it back to them in the spring. Well, they will finish it. Um, yeah, and anything they don't eat from this box over the winter, we will collect in the spring as well. Um, so yeah, so what we are going to do today, because Rachel's hive has filled, they're really taking over that top box and doing just great work there. Um, we don't need to do a whole lot down low. We know that there's a queen because there's just a continually replenishing amount of bees. Like there's always bees, there's always tons of bees, and they're always doing such great work. That box is getting heavy, by the way. Um, What we're going to do is we're going to do a transplant from Rachel's hive into my hive that seems to be struggling. And I do think I know what is going on with my hive. I think they are box bound, which means that they've done so much work in their top box that they can't actually get up to the top box, the new top box, the honey box. There's just not enough space for them to walk that way. So what my plan was today and what I ended up doing is we're gonna take a look at these frames and figure out which ones have a good number of eggs in them, of bees to be, and we're gonna actually put that into my colony to try to give it a boost. That was the plan going in, and that's what we ended up doing. But now that I've done it and I'm doing this voiceover, I can kind of tell you what my thoughts are now. Is I don't think it's a numbers problem. I do think it's um, a blockage problem. I just don't think bees can get up into the honey box to do what they need to and want to do. So we're just cleaning off the top of these frames because they build comb between the frames and that queen excluder that's keeping the queen from laying up on top. That way that top box is strictly honey. But what we end up doing is we're going to find a frame here that has a little bit of honey, but a whole bunch of eggs, and we're going to put that into my colony. And what we do here is we just give them an empty frame. Rachel's Hive has proven that they can and will just knock it out real quick, fill it up with wax, and then fill it up with either eggs or honey. Either one is probably fine, and they'll be okay. But that little injection of extra eggs over to mine, I'm hoping will make them a little bit healthier. But the other thing that we ended up doing in my colony is when we were putting this transplanted frame in, is we took out the feeder. The feeder takes up 2 frame spots, and we only put 1 frame in place. So they have a little more space to get up top. So let's talk about that frame. So on the right-hand side, we see really good honeycomb being drawn out, but on the left-hand side, we see that weird thing sticking out. That is the wonky comb. We don't want the wonky comb. So I'm going to cut that out and save it. It's just, I mean, it's just wax. So what I will end up doing, and I have been doing, is I've just been collecting all the extra wax that we scrape off or, we have to remove because it's wonky. And eventually I'm going to melt it down and filter it, and we will have our own honey bee wax. I did buy a whole bunch of wax so that I can coat some of these frames that they weren't drawing on with fresh wax, and did that to both Rachel's hive and my hive. And Rachel's bees, who are behaving, are doing great with that. So what I'm checking for now is I'm just trying to find a frame that has a good bit of egg on it, eggs, pupa, whatever, so that I can move it to my colony. So this should be the one here. Pretty sure it's the one we want. Yeah. Yep. Now we got to shake off the queen. We got to make sure the queen's not on there. I'm pretty sure she was not. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to move that one over. So we should set that down on a little stand and save it for later. This frame, if you can kind of look around the edges, you can see it's a lighter color wax. That is honey. The inside is that more sandy, dark sand color. That is brood. So eggs that are capped over and waiting to hatch. So apparently that's not the frame. Maybe it's the next frame that I want. So yeah, let's see. I can't remember. It was getting really hot, so. Okay, so yeah, that looks better. So that is, okay, on the outside there, you've got a bunch of honey. On the inside, you've got all the eggs. So we're going to go to tap these bees off the best that I can. It's apparently not a skill that I've developed yet. Neither is finding a place to set my tools. That's annoying. And Isaac was out there with me, so he came out in his pajamas and flip-flops. He didn't want to suit up, but he drove the tractor. We have our little riding lawnmower. It's got a trailer. And we put the stuff in the trailer and he drives out, and I usually walk behind or ahead depending on how quick it goes. But we've got a 5-gallon bucket that we transport the tools in. We have a couple extra pieces of equipment today that we'll get to. Um, and then sometimes if we don't have to bring out water and so the trailer's not wet, I'll sit in the trailer and he'll drive me back. Okay, so we took out that frame. It's off to the side. We swept off the bees, and now what we need to do is we need to put a new frame in place. Now, my plan was to scoot the existing frames towards the center and put this blank frame on the outside, but the bees are building comb between the lower box and the box we're in right now. So sliding over that one wasn't working. It was getting caught on comb. So what I decided to do was just throw that empty frame in there. And that should be fine. I think Rachel's hive is strong enough and smart enough to just go ahead and start building on that. The frames on either side are well established. I don't think they will widen those at all. So I think we're going to be okay. And then we just put that other comb, that other frame that had the wonky comb back in there. So we didn't do a full inspection. It's supposed to get to 105. So we didn't want to do is spend a lot of time in here. We wanted to get in, do this transplant, and then get out. But we do have to do some basic cleanup. Like right now, we're scraping off the comb that was built onto that queen excluder. So it's an annoying thing to scrape off because it's not perfectly flat. He's got all those little holes, so the tool kind of gets stuck, and then it's kind of obnoxious, but it is something we have to do. After we clean that off, I think we're just putting stuff back together. And then we actually have to do, I don't know if we have to, but we are going to do something to help with the extra heat that we're having this weekend. From what I was reading, when the hives will keep themselves about 90 degrees, like in the fall, winter, spring, to keep themselves alive. That's what I believe I've heard and read and stuff like that. I don't know if 90 degrees is a temperature, but here's what I did read this week in preparation for this inspection is that when the hive starts getting up to the 100 plus temperatures, 100, 105, then the cappings that cover the eggs, actually, I believe it's at the 100, 105, the eggs stop developing. Potentially maybe cooking, I don't know. We definitely don't want those eggs to be cooked. And when it gets hotter than that, the wax actually softens enough where things start collapsing inside. So what I'm grabbing right now is what I put together, I think it was Thursday night. Pretty sure it was Thursday night. It's just a big sheet of plastic. So you see that X pattern on there with some extra wood. That's just for support out to the corners. We're going to put that wood side down, and then we're going to put our brick that we always do for wind right on top where all those pieces of wood come to meet. That should, actually you can kind of already see it, it creates shade. You can already see the boxes, the top boxes like completely in shade already, and it's probably even more so now because it's been an hour and a half since I was out there. Hour and 15 minutes. And then a little extra weight just to make sure that it stays down. So that should give us more shade for the bees. And hopefully keep their temperature down. Now, remember we've got the water right behind them. There's 2 5-gallon buckets filled with water, and it's got little bee pontoons, which are just foam discs with hexagons cut out of it so that they can land on it. What we have here is just a jar of water. Very fancy. Okay. But the fancy part is the lid has tiny little holes. And so if I can put that on, I think I struggled with that one. Good thing I wasn't recording. I think I got mad at myself. Okay, and then that goes on there. It snaps on. That whole white thing will slide into the bee entrance, and we'll see that here in a moment. And even though we've got the 8 to 10 gallons of water right behind them, depending on how full those buckets were, I think I got them pretty much full when we left. This just gives them water right next to themselves. There's Isaac back there. Don't tell him that he's in the video. This way they have water just right nearby and close. We can see the bees, they're already fanning. They weren't upset this morning. They were pretty chill. Both hives were. But now that they have water nearby and the shade, I think we have a good chance of having a good, safe weekend for them. We will end up doing the same to my hive there in time. So those are eggs, and that's honey. So that is what we're going to put into my hive. It's just a shot of extra bees to get their numbers up. It's got a little bit of honey in there. So that's all that we have for this inspection. Both went well. We'll keep watching to see how my hive goes. Um, so hopefully next weekend I'll have some good news. Have a good day. Bye.